Let's head to northeastern footy and, well, excitement abounds when there's a drawn game. Probably for everyone else who looks on, and even for those commentators like myself who love it, but for the players it's a bit of a hollow feeling. It's good to talk to the resident expert of football in the northeastern, Peter Meyer. Hey Peter, how are you?
Going well. How are you?
Good. Did you get to see the drawn game between your old stages, BSR, and the Southern Saints?
No, I didn't get to see it. I went to the Hay Sheep Show, so that counted me out. But I heard a fair bit about it, though.
I'll tell you what, the Hay Sheep Show, I did see some publicity about that. Apparently a fair few sheep came back to South Australia.
Oh, yes. There was a good representation of South Australians over at the Hay Sheep Show, and most of the South Australians done pretty well.
Good stuff. Well, I'll tell you who did pretty well. It was BSR and the Southern Saints. The Saints have emerged, Peter. Let's put it on the table that they've got to make the finals, and that's still not assured, but they have drawn with the stellar side in this competition for the past 4 seasons in the BSR. So this is a drawn game. They came from behind to do it 10-5-65 to 9-11-65.
Yes, it was. And it was a very good game. And they came from behind to score a draw. It was a bit of controversy at the end because the scoreboard said that BSR was up by a point. And I believe there was a player that had the ball in his hands or taken a mark and looked at the scoreboard, considered that to be correct, and kicked the ball to the umpire rather than having a shot. So when the two goal umpires came together, a drawn game.
Ooh.
So there was a bit of controversy at the end, but Southern Saints are on the move, I think. They've had a few injuries, and I reckon they're about to ready to get up and go in this last half of the season.
Yeah, I tell you what, the two Lorna boys, Brad, I think, kicked a couple, and they're both B Lornas, and I got a feeling that the other boy kicked 2.
Yes, Blake and his brother, they're in there together, and they are pretty good players, along with Matt Pryor, and I think they're starting to get a few of their injured players back, and Clinton Voigt been dispersing a bit of football with motorbike riding in the first half of the season, but I think he'll get a bit serious in the second half, and they'll be around the mark, providing they can just make that 4 and have a real crack at the end of the season.
Yeah, should do. AJ Pryor still to come back into that side too from down there. Tanunda played some great football. No, Clinton Voigt also played at Williston. Those two players, if they can get them up and going with Schmitty, he's a good player too, kicked a couple. They are a real chance. Longbottom was great for BSR with 3 and Moller a couple. Haasma and Hayes always seem to make that's L. Hayes, Martin and C. Hayes making the better players. Over to other games. It was a big win by RSMU, 22-10, 142 to North Clare, 6-6-42. Did the real RSMU turn up?
Well, I think they did. I was a bit surprised with that score line. When I text home to see what sort of happened from up there in Hayes, they said RSMU won by 100 points. And I thought, gee whiz, I wonder really what happened. So when I got home, I questioned a couple of North Clare officials, and I said, didn't handle the big oval and failed to shut down the centre of the ground, and RSMU used this up and down the centre of the ground to perfection, and that's what got them away. And I see Van Loon played well, and I think it was probably a little week off, rested them, and they got up and had a crack, I think.
They certainly did. Micah Van Loon, 5 goals from the midfield. Not only best player, he's one of the lads that I've followed his career from the West Coast over to Pinaroo and now up into the Mid-North. So well done to him. Clark and Jordan, Slee and Griffiths have been good. Connell with 6 was excellent, and Clark booted 3. Rhodey, Ball both booted 2. It was Francis with 2 for North, and Nikolai and Francis and Haylock were the better players on their side of the ledger. Other matches had a very interesting result here. It was BBH 15-17 to South Clare 9-11. If you don't mind, the boys from Burra-Boobarawi and Hallett have stolen the points from Clare.
Yes, they did, and they came to Clare to play the game too. And South Clare home ground, BBH proved too strong for them. I think you'll find in the second half of the season that they'll probably push a few of the top sides, and it will be interesting this week because they play BSR at Burra. And I think they're starting to put it together a little bit. I heard they've picked up another good player, and I think you'll find that they'll gel a bit better in the second half of the season, and don't be surprised if they cause a few upsets.
I reckon Casey Cooper's got his finger on the pulse, the butcher there in Barra. He'll be watching it out for any good players that are still available in the next few days, that's for sure. Could be some lamb chops on the way to a couple of fellas to get them signed on. Smythe with the 6 goals. The 2 Smythe boys are going well. Borman booted 3 and Clay booted a couple along with Hook, who also kicked a couple. Dinning with 4 for South. Ballantyne, Murphy and Keane, they're better players. Borman, the 2 Smythes, Drew and Newton played well for BBH. The final result to have a look at was this one where Minman 10-14-74 to Blythe Snowdown 4-11-35. Minman, a regulation win there.
Yes, it was a regulation win. They're just moving along nicely. I seen them a couple of weeks ago. They're very competitive, probably just turn the ball over a little bit with some of their play. If they can just tidy that up a little bit and continue to apply the pressure that they applied to the game that I've seen, they'll be around the mark. It'll be a pretty interesting contest to see who finishes up making that final 4. Southern Saints knocking on the door, Minman still there, North Clare, RSMU, BSR. Great excitement over the last half of the season, I see.
Oh, you reckon you're right. Wilmot with 3, G. Sando with 2, and he was among their better players. And the other 2 Sando boys, L and B, were in there too. Latchford and Wilmot, good players. Atkinson, a couple, and it was Pratt and Salter and Imey who got into it. All right, you mentioned this week, and you mentioned a game where you reckon that there could be a bit on up at Borough. We'll have a look at that because the BBH boys got BSR at home, and we might just see just whether BSR respond to the drawn game last week, and I'll tell you what, the player will be having a shot no matter what happens on the last kick of the day.
My word, never, when you're within kicking distance, always have a shot. You never know. The goal umpires don't always get it right, and the scoreboard attendants aren't always right either. So, don't take that chance. But it'll be an interesting game at Borough. Cold conditions, you get over there to that Borough ground, mentally you're not always switched on. If Herbie Glacken's got them firing, and after last week's confidence booster, they'll be around the mark, and I reckon they'll take it up to BSR over there tomorrow, and it'll be interesting to see what happens.
North Clare and South Clare at the Clare Oval. Gee, North need to respond from the poor performance last week.
Yes, they do, and last week they had 4 or 5 of their better players out too. That probably had a bit of an effect, and I think they pick up a couple of them this week, though. I did hear around the traps this week that a couple of others got an injury in that game. So, they're just struggling a bit with their injured players at the moment. So it probably gives South a little opportunity to see if they can get their first win on the board. They always rise to the occasion when North and South play each other. So it'll be an interesting game in Clare, but perhaps North will just be a little bit strong in the end, I think.
Southern Saints should get the job done over Blythe Snowtown, and they are looking forward to having this home deck game at Yadunda. It'll be cold at Yadunda.
Oh, yes. Well, you toss up between Borough, Yadunda, and out that way when you go there. And if the wind's from the southeast, it will be cold at Yadunda. There's no doubt about that. But I think Southern Saints, Chris will have them. He's on the move now, and I think they're going to plan to get into that 4 in the last half of this season and really have a crack. So they won't let this one drop, I don't think.
Match of the round, Minman at home at Mintaro over an arch rival in RSMU. The Hawks will come to play. I've tipped them to win it.
Yes, I think they will come to play. Home ground, that'll be a bit of an advantage for Minman, but they'll need to be on their best foot and really ready to have a crack against RSMU. And, they're on top now, RSMU, with that win last week. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out at that game.
Oh, we're going to look forward to a great round of matches in northeastern footy. Cold conditions, but it's the middle of winter anyway, and the sheep farmers across those hills will be looking forward to getting some of their sheep into some wooded country for a bit of protection. And we'll catch up with you next time, Peter.
Thank